Let's talk about Irish coffee. I'm Daniel Whittington, Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. We're gonna drink Blue Spot, another delicious cask strength sherry, Madeira, bourbon, 7-year-old Irish whiskey. Oh, I love the Spots. It's such a great line of product. Okay, so what's the deal with Irish coffee? And I'm not going to give you a recipe. So if you're looking for a recipe for Irish coffee, wrong channel. However, I welcome in the comments links to what you think is the best recipe for an Irish coffee. Fair? I will approve all of them if I find them. So for a while, there were rumors that Irish coffee was actually invented in California, and which is not true, full stop, but which is sort of understandable because of how it got famous. So in anything that is a big deal, there's always the inventor and then the popularizer, right? California was the popularizer, Ireland was the inventor. That version of the story isn't totally true. The Bay Area in California was the popularizer, really put it on the map. But actually, it came from a small town down by closer to the River Shannon called Foynes. Now, back in the day, Foynes was a major stopping point for flights that had to refuel before they crossed the Atlantic to get to the US. And they'd come from Europe, stop at Foynes, and then go over. So there was a Pan Am, it's how old this is, I'll tell you. There's a Pan Am flight, 1943, and it's flying, it leaves, and because of storms and weather and terrible things, it has to turn back. And it lands in Foynes, and by the time they land and they are off the plane, because remember at this point, they don't have you're like walking downstairs and they're getting rained on and it's freezing, and they all get into the airport lounge, and the head chef there, whose name is Joe Sheridan, decides he's gonna make something to warm everybody up. So he thinks about giving everybody hot coffee, but then he's like, these guys have had it a little rough. We're gonna make this a little extra special. So he dollops Irish whiskey into all of this coffee. And then he tops it with a perfect layer of cream. Now think English cream, not sweet whipped cream from a can spray. Psh, not like Starbucks whipped cream, right? It is whipped cream, but it's not nearly as sweet and sugary as you're thinking. Closer to cream than ice cream. And it's just this perfect floated cream on top. And he hands it out to all the passengers, and they all sip it, and of course are immediately like, hell yes, this is like a warm hug coming from the inside. Hot coffee and a little Irish whiskey going down and a little cream to smooth out all the edges. Oh, and someone said, oh, is this Brazilian coffee? And he said, nah, it's Irish coffee. And hence Irish coffee is in. Those people get on the plane and they head back. Now it was so popular that it became a staple at Foynes. And they began to serve this Irish coffee special recipe. And that's where the story changes to become to the point where California gets involved. But first, let's drink some Blue Spot. Now, the Spots, if you remember, the Mitchell and Sons were purveyors of fine merchants, fine spirits and goods, who had a contract with Middleton, became Middleton, where they would fill barrels of whiskey and bring them back and age them. And they had a whole age range where it was started with green and then blue and then yellow and red, and each one was a different age and a different flavor profile. And they marked the barrels with paint. So you'd know, oh, that's a yellow, that's a green spot barrel. That one is part of the red spot line, and so on. The Blue Spot is a 7-year-old cask strength blend, and the whiskey's been aged in bourbon, sherry, and Madeira casks, which, and you know me, I'm a sucker for Madeira. And then the high proof helps it carry all of these other flavors in. So, oh, it's so wine finished, funky, and beautiful. It's slight licorice and chocolate and almond toffee. It's an almond roca mixed with fruit. So if you, oh man, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have. If you take a hard object of some kind and shatter almond roca into crumbly bits, the whole thing, break it up until you have a pile of toppings, basically, and then you put that on top of like a berries and cream, it will alter your existence. and that is what I'm smelling right now. Oh, it's so good. It's rich. It comes across as slightly sherry funk, a little bit of damp wood and slight oak note tannin sort of laced through. Ah. I have a soft spot for green spot. Oh, that sentence was weird. But really, blue is the most flavor powerful, rich, almost decadent flavor profile of all of the Mitchell & Sons Spot series, and I love it. Anyway, okay, so there's a traveler. His name is Stanton Delaplane, and in the 50s, so we're talking a decade later, so Irish whiskey's now been served for a decade in Ireland. A decade later, this guy tries it, and he flies back to the Bay Area and falls in love with this drink. And he partners with Jack Kopler, who's the owner of the Buena Vista Cafe in San Francisco. And he goes, we're going to recreate this. We're going to serve it here in San Francisco. Because, I mean, of course, San Francisco is the perfect place to serve Irish coffee. It's foggy, it's cold. Even in the summer, it can be foggy and cold. And yeah, it's a perfect drink for Bay Area. And so they start trying to recreate it. And their first attempts are all a mess, primarily because they can't get the cream right. And this is not a surprise. Very often in American restaurants, when you ask for something that in England would have a cream, if you ask for the same thing in America, like if you say berries and cream in England, you're gonna get berries and clotted cream most often. Maybe slightly sweetened, maybe no sweetness. You ask for berries and cream in the US in a restaurant, and you might just get whipped cream on berries, unless they know what they're doing. And so they're screwing around trying different whipped cream and this cream. And so first the cream just sank to the bottom and blended, and then it was too heavy. And then they made it too light and it was just like whipped pure. And so to get that perfect balance of the kind of whipped cream that they were getting in Ireland, it took them a while. But when they nailed it, and it blew up out of San Francisco and sort of created this whole idea of this new drink called the Irish coffee that was invented in San Francisco, California. No, not really. Just so you know, there was for a while a rumor that Irish coffee, in modern history, Irish coffee kind of saved Irish whiskey from oblivion. It didn't. It helped some Irish whiskey sales, but the volume was so small, it didn't really put a dent in all of the problems Irish whiskey was facing at the time, and that's why they still ended up, by the 1960s, consolidating down into a single distillery, which is a story that we've told before on this channel. These days, if you go to a pub and order an Irish coffee, who knows what you're gonna get? They might have syrup, it might have chocolate, it might have spices drizzled on top of it. Everyone has their own version of the recipe now in the US. I will tell you that if you go back to Ireland, in Dublin, do the Powers tour, which is a great tour, and it'll end with like a really, here's the formal, specific Irish coffee recipe with Powers Irish whiskey. It's good, it's good. And you know what, I just realized, why am I not drinking this at home more? That should be the default. Anyway, cheers to you. Oh, I hope that was helpful. Oh, that's so good. How I love thee. I'm really glad you're here. I spot, you spot, we all spot for Blue Spot. And if you like that kind of bullshit, then you should like and subscribe to this channel.